welcome back to another episode of CP Unlimited. I am, of course, Andrew Barczyk, joined once again by Mr. Steve Lynn. Steve, we got some huge information right now, something real interesting.
Yes, we do, and I'm actually really. You sent me a text one day with this screenshot from Cedar Point's website, and I didn't even know was this something that was announced, or you just happened to come across it, or did someone mention it?
I got a tip. I got a tip by one of my good friends, Mr. Michael Johnson. He sent me a tip early in the morning one day, and he said, "Hey, you might want to go check out Windseeker." Either on the Cedar Point website or the Cedar Point app. It's the same in both places. And there is an interesting note when you do go and read that page. It says, "Note, this attraction is not scheduled to be open during Halloweekends." Now, before all of you start saying, well, there's a lot of things not open during Halloweekends, I will then challenge you to go look up things like Thunder Canyon, like Snake River Falls, that have never, ever been open during Halloweekends. And those things do not have this note. It should also be noted that Tiki Twirl, the Giant Wheel, and Wicked Twister also do not have this note. So something interesting is actually going on here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but both Danny and I, both you and I, we've been speculating that this is the prime location for the 2020, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
We just saw in a recent interview, Jason McClure kind of being kind of cagey with what's happening in 2020, hinting at maybe a ride, but not something huge. So, Steven, where are you at on this?
Well, it definitely is really interesting, the fact that they're announcing this so soon, that Windseeker's not going to be open during Halloweekends. I'd be curious to know if this was something that was like this past year during Halloweekends, because if that's the case, then this is absolutely nothing. But there's no way for us to go back and find that out. But with that being said, there's several other rides that don't open during Halloweekends, and those don't have this type of note. So
when you think about it, no ride besides the two water rides are really officially closed. Like, yes, a lot of rides don't open on Fridays during Halloweekends. Some rides may not open due to maintenance or whatever. But for the most part, I've never seen a note like this before.
Yeah, and it is just weird that they would even put a note like this out there, because Windseeker isn't the most popular ride in the world. So, I could see this, obviously closing Windseeker for Halloweekends isn't going to affect anyone's planning coming to Cedar Point. If they made an announcement like, oh, we're closing Steel Vengeance during Halloweekends, obviously that's going to be something they're going to want to get out there. But I just find it very odd and strange that they're announcing something like this so early, when they also didn't give a reason as to why. It doesn't say, we're closing it for future expansion, doesn't say we're closing it due to maintenance issues or anything like that. It just says it's not going to be open for Halloweekends, and we haven't even started the season yet. So,
well, in the article, Jason McClure said, well, if we were building anything really big, we would have already started prepping for that. And my argument has been is they've been prepping in plain sight for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They knocked down the stadium. They cleared a whole lot of area out over there on the beach, on the Wicked Twister Midway. They've laid down concrete in certain areas, not in other areas. That they did the whole Fire and Ice concert last year. So my contention has been that they have been prepping this area in plain sight for all to see since the better part of the last year here. And it's also been my assertion for a very long time. This is nothing new. Already. Most of our longtime listeners know already what I'm about to say here, but I've said that for the 2020 anniversary, a wood coaster on the beach, call it Cyclone, call it whatever, would be a perfect addition to tie everything together, the new, the old, the bringing back the old. There's been some crazy rumors out there about bringing back things like Wildcat or, some crazy stuff out there, but none of that, I think, fits. And to me, when they say, hey, we're going to close Windseeker, Well, you're going to need, it's right next to the area of what I'm talking
Yep.
about. So if you're going to start actually prepping an area that is right next to where the stadium stood, that is the area. You know, you can still run Tiki Twirl, you can still run Giant Wheel, but that is a huge area right there that would probably need to start being prepped even more if you were actually going to put a wood coaster on the beach over there.
There's also been a lot of people, rumbling that Wicked Twister may be nearing the end of its life. So it'll
Yeah.
be very interesting to see if anything happens with any type of announcement to close Wicked Twister towards the end of the season. You know how they did when Rougarou was going to be done. They announced that Mantis stayed open, but they announced or Mean Streak. I mean, they announced that Mean Streak was going to close for
Yep.
early on in the season. Maybe they'll do the same thing with Wicked Twister, start taking it apart. I mean, that's not a ride that it has a lot of demolition needed. Really,
No.
it's a very small platform. So
Yeah, and you probably could use a lot of that concrete for footers or wherever else. And then Tiki Twirl has always been on the hit list where they moved it over. It was Calypso over by Blue Streak, then they moved it over to the Midway. And Tiki Twirl, there's been a lot of rumblings of that one, taking a hike as well. And we saw Witch's Wheel go. And I don't know. I would assume Tiki Twirl might have a few more problems than Witch's Wheel did. So that might be the next one on the chopping block over there as well. So there's a lot of possibilities for that Midway. If you go on Google Maps and start looking at the amount of area that they have, that Midway is a huge Midway to begin with. So you can tighten that up a little bit and use a whole lot of that Midway plus the beach for a pretty sizable wood coaster that there's no shortage of imagination on what kind of designs you could put over there. I think there's a lot of cool options. Make it a twister style thing. That we've seen at GCI do a lot of even a gravity group something or another might work over there. But that's what I think we're getting to, and I think that this is the first shot fired here that we've been waiting, and we thought that it might have happened at Winter Chill Out, that the first shot was going to be fired for the 2020 season. I think this is officially the first shot, them announcing that Windseeker will not be open for Halloweekends, because that means something will be happening over there. The other idea is are they moving Windseeker in the park or to another park? I think that's more of a long shot, though, personally.
yeah, I think just given the number of times that I've gone to the park and Windseeker can't open for either mechanical reasons or it's too windy or whatever other reasons it might not open. And on top of that, there's never a line for it anymore. I happened to be at the park so when Windseeker opened, it was delayed several weeks. I happened to be at the park the day that it actually did open to the public. They had like a soft opening in the evening, and I mean there was crazy lines for it because it was the new ride for that whole rest of the year. That season there was pretty steady. The queue was usually full, but after that it just attendance for the ride just kind of dropped in, and really it's a ride that isn't able to stay open consistently.
Yeah. That's why I said moving it in the park, probably unlikely. There's always been rumors of them moving it to Dorney Park. Dorney Park was, a lot of people thought they were scheduled to get a Windseeker. They never did. They put there's like a whole plaza out in Dorney Park that looked like they were going to put a Windseeker there, and they eventually put the flyers there instead. But you can move it to a different park. Michigan's Adventure doesn't have one. Dorney Park doesn't have one. So I don't know. I think that's more of a long shot here. I think Windseeker is staying right where it is, and they are using that area and cordoning it off in order to get some construction started for the 2020 attraction. So we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled. But folks, we are here now. We are officially in the rumor season for 2020 in Cedar Point.
Yes, we are.
I thought it was going to be sooner. I didn't. If you would have said April 20th, I would not have guessed that. I thought Winter Chill Out, but it's April 20th, and we're officially in it. So here we go. So as always, I am Andy Rabarchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Steve Lynn from Cleveland, Ohio, and we will see you next time.
Right on, right, Warriors.